I'm also either 23, I'm also 20, 19, 18, whatever it is, watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, how the hell does a 23-year-old like yourself get to where you are now?
I always knew I wanted to be rich and successful and have a bunch of cool things. I was really always a car
How
guy.
many business failures did you have to find the success that you have now? It's probably quite a lot,
Many.
right? What's up, guys? Back out here with another podcast. I'm with my boy Turner LaBrash. Now, Turner, here at the podcast, we usually like to break down kind of learning more about young entrepreneurs, what they've been doing, how they came up, kind of learning their success story.
Cool.
I've heard about yours before. Audience obviously hasn't heard that much, but dude, just kind of tell us a little bit about your background, like where you come from, and yeah, man, just gonna shoot there.
So I only graduated college like a year and a half ago, but I've been in sales for 4 years or so. Did solar kind of like yourself for 2.5 years. Started kind of with the door-to-door scene. Did that for a year and a half, and then switched into doing it virtually. Had a call center and a lot of Filipino Asians and ran a lot of marketing and put a lot of money into advertisements and really just wanted to figure out how to sell that virtually. And then ended up just finding this industry where luckily we're able to sell it virtually, and just jumped ship about a year and a half ago. So I sold my first policy October 2023. I came in with the intention of writing business at a high level and just figuring out how to do that as quick as possible so that I can build a team.
Yeah.
I had kind of come from building teams and saw what was possible in this industry by duplicating yourself and kind of doing that. So my biggest intention was just to do a big month as soon as possible. And I hit the ground running with insurance. So told all my friends about it. A lot of them came, joined, and here we are now.
That's awesome, man. And like, I know a lot of people are always curious too. Like, you know, some people come, they grow up and have a childhood where, you know, essentially, there's not too much, the families maybe coming from like a smaller town.
Sure.
Or, whatever it is. They don't really have these aspirations, of this big future. Like, what would you say, were you always like an entrepreneur? Were you always someone who's wanted to start businesses? Like, where was kind of like your first entry level step into like anything entrepreneurial?
It's a great question. I would say first entry step was just that initial solar job. I always knew I wanted to be rich and successful and have a bunch of cool things. I was really always a car guy, so whatever career I had to do to get me the cars I wanted, I'm willing to do. And that was kind of my intention from the start.
Word.
Yeah.
So, and then like, I mean, what was your first venture though? Like, where did you first even like start? Like, some people, it's like, yeah, I started a car wash, started mowing lawns.
Good point.
Like,
So
where did you
honestly,
start?
when I was younger, I had a few different random entrepreneurial ventures.
Yeah.
I know when I was younger, I think I was 10 or 11 selling Minecraft usernames.
Hell yeah.
Selling some for like $200-300 a pop, which to me at a 10, 11-year-old, just getting that PayPal deposit was massive.
Of course.
Like, that was life-changing. And then at 14, I went on LinkedIn, tried to find a business owner where I could work under the table, because obviously I wasn't legally able to make money at that time. Ended up finding a business owner that buys other businesses, and she ended up deciding to just pay me $100 for like 3 hours of work to go to these businesses and put a letter on the door, essentially having her offer to buy their business. So that was the first ever kind of entrepreneurial thing I ever tried. And then obviously I found solar in college, and honestly the moment I found it was highly considering dropping out, but low-key was just doing it to make my parents happy, and made a lot of good connections there and a lot of memories that I don't regret.
So did you end up finishing college ever?
I did, yeah. I got my business degree, business communications. Not going to do anything with that at all, but glad I did.
Yeah.
Went to Arizona State, so you know how much that degree means and the grand
100%.
scope of things.
That's dope. I mean, I think what you said really connects with a lot of people. Like, for me at least, like, even like starting like something, silly, like selling Minecraft usernames, right? A lot of people, like, they don't realize that, an entrepreneur is not something that you just gain all the skills overnight. Right? Like, how many business failures did you have to find the success that you have now? It's probably quite a lot, right? And a lot of people don't really realize the work and effort that it actually takes to do that. And, I guess one thing too is like, you've obviously came from multiple businesses, lost a lot of businesses,
Yep.
and obviously coming out of college as well, like understanding that you wanted to go into some sort of business venture. Like, what would you say to somebody who is like in that college realm? I mean, do you feel like college was worth it?
It really depends on what you're going to college for.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear it a lot in the entrepreneurial space. If you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer and you know that,
Yeah.
go to college. Probably don't go to ASU. But if you are going with the intention of wanting to build a business down the road or knowing that you're going to be in some sort of sales, it probably doesn't make that much sense to really finish it out.
Yeah.
Unless you really are building a lot of connections. Because in an industry like this, part of why I think I've had so much success is partially just the connections I have in the war market that I've kind of had prior to this,
Yeah.
where I could just take a lot of those people that I did meet in college and show them this opportunity. And a lot of them just ran with it and are now making deep six figures and obviously changed their lives from it.
That's crazy. So like coming from college, obviously, you've seen this crazy industry that you've been in, where you were able to do that. And like, what kind of was that, I guess, that journey starting from the beginning of, coming into an industry, learning the ropes, building the team that you want? Like, what would you say are some of the biggest life lessons that you kind of learned? Because I know a lot of people are like, yes, the money's great. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, you're able to change not only your life, but other people's. But like, what was the kind of those initial feelings, but also some of those learning lessons that maybe you didn't expect to learn?
It's a great question. A lot of things. I think a lot of people come into this industry, I'd say 80, 90% of people, I know you're not one of them, but coming into this industry simply for the money and for the lucrative opportunity that it really is, and obviously the freedom that can come with having a lot of money. But realistically, you find that that's not a driver that's going to be able to keep you going for a long period of time. And it's really important, especially when you're building a team, not to see your people as anything that's going to give you money or an override or anything, and really truly put your people first and care about them, because it's very obvious the leaders that don't care about their people, it shows.
Yeah.
And obviously when you put your people first, the business is going to be extremely profitable, because if you have profitable agents, the agency is realistically always going to be profitable. So I've always just focused on understanding that I'm going to take a pay cut now, especially within the first 6-12 months of the business where I could have been making a lot more money than I was.
Yeah.
Understanding that I was developing into pouring into other people, that in the long run will grow a much more profitable business, but at the same time also impact and affect a lot more people than truly just my own. Because I found out pretty early in sales that it's great making a lot of money and it's fun, the success, but it's a lot more fulfilling helping others and watching them have that success.
Right.
And showing someone how to make $10,000 in a week when prior they were making $10,000 in a year.
Right.
That's truly something special.
I mean, dude, not only, something that we talked about before, even, hopping on here. I remember you telling me about some of the struggles that you learned a little bit early on of like being a perfectionist in your business.
Yeah.
And like the ability to delegate and how huge that's been for you, but not only, something that you've had to learn and go through. What is kind of your mindset, when you had to learn something like that?
Yeah, that was a tough one for me because, like you said, I think we're both kind of perfectionists in a way where we really have a vision and then do everything we can to make it exactly be as perfect and close to that as possible. Where sometimes in business, it's a lot better just to act quick, even if it's not perfect action, just to take that imperfect action to at least be working towards something instead of be sitting there trying to make everything perfect the moment it comes out, because then you just simply won't ever act. So what I've had to do recently is just accept that I have other leaders now that are developed, that a lot of them know a lot of what I do, if not everything I do at this point.
Yeah.
They've been working with me for a year and a half, some of them 3-4 years. And also just having to outsource certain tasks that isn't really worth your time. Because in this business, a certain point, you really do have to delegate certain tasks that aren't worth your, obviously, hourly salary or whatever it may be. It's just important to really zoom out and do the math of what your time is worth, and then not do anything that isn't worth your time. Delegating all of that.
Perfect. And then, bro, so that makes sense. Obviously, we have to understand that delegating is huge, because the mindset that we have coming into this, and something that I learned especially, was like when I had my first business, I remember literally, quite literally, the exact moment when I fully realized that I kind of was being selfish, right? A lot of the times people don't understand that being an entrepreneur is not is just it's not easy, right? It's not easy, but it's also a lot of ego checks and a lot of
Yeah,
humbling
for
moments
sure.
where you're put in positions that you really never thought you would ever have to learn. And I think for me, coming from my prior business, when I was bringing a lot of people to different countries and I was kind of on this super tight schedule and I was always trying to figure out what I needed to do to get people to move and to be perfect, right? And I remember someone telling me, and I'll remember this for the rest of my life. He said in front of everybody, he said, "You know what, dude? You're a little freaking dictator." And I remember that, and it just, I like shit my pants. I literally was just like, I froze, super embarrassed, red in the face, and I just shut up. And I remember it was so humbling, and for the rest of my life, I'll remember that moment moving forward. What did I learn? I learned that the best leaders are the ones that create other leaders to not only do other tasks, but to put yourself on an even playing field with everybody else and make sure that everyone understands that they hold value
Sure.
just as much as you do. Because I feel like in business, just in life, we tend to have these egos or put ourselves above people just naturally, right? Because we want to be leaders, we want to help and accomplish the things in our business that we want to do. And it's kind of like the reality check. And it sounds like that's something obviously that you had to learn and
100%.
still are figuring. And I'm still figuring it out to this day. That's awesome, man. And then rotating it too, right now obviously we're in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy,
Beautiful.
crazy beautiful. I mean, we found this gem of a place, but being an entrepreneur, going through like, what was the expectations that you had set for yourself when coming into starting just being a solo entrepreneur to the expectations that you kind of have for yourself now? And what allow you, you told me that you're looking at helping your family, taking them anywhere in the world, right? Like, that's something pretty special, man.
Yeah.
And like, what were the expectations that you had to set yourself in the beginning, or maybe you had to learn to set yourself? For people out there who are like, all right, well, how do I get from point A to point B just in my journey of being an entrepreneur?
As far as like non-negotiables I had to have when I
Yeah,
first
just
started.
anything. There's expectations, like mindset.
Yeah.
What did you have going into it?
A lot of it was simply just understanding that I have to completely lower my ego and I have to stop what I was spending the last 2.5 years learning, and I felt like I was starting to master, to completely jump ship and learn something brand new and understand that I'm going to be the worst I'm ever going to be when I do start. And obviously, when you come into anything new, the only way to really come in and find the success that you want is to find some sort of a leader that you can copy and paste their systems and just do everything the exact same. And if you outwork them, chances are you're probably going to get close results. So luckily, obviously, we have our mentor, Jonah, who we were able to come in and really just kind of copy and paste his systems and really just not have to reinvent the wheel and really focus on that. Because a lot of new Asians come in and immediately just try to make their own scripts, obviously switch up the lead flow every single week, which obviously only shooting yourself in the foot in the long run.
That's awesome.
What was the second half of your question?
Yeah, I mean, and like, how does it feel now having set yourself those expectations?
Yeah.
And now being able to not only be financially free, but to help your family and show them show them an opportunity like that.
Absolutely. I mean, at the beginning, obviously, you're focused on mainly paying rent, just getting out of the whatever tough financial spot you're in.
Yeah.
Guy started in this industry with $10,000 in the hole, and it's an industry where you buy leads. So I had to take a credit card, put another $2,000 on there, which didn't feel good when I didn't know where that next month's rent is coming from. But obviously, a year later, now you're looking at completely different problems, like where you want certain office spaces in the country, or what trips you want to take your parents on, or what supercars you want to get. And obviously, the longer you're in the industry, really, the more that can really start to change, because it's something that just compounds so tremendously, especially when you focus on putting people first and sometimes take a step back from personal production if it means it's going to put your business ahead.
And do you feel like, I mean, dude, you're 23 years old. Within the last like 3 months, you've probably deposited close to $200,000. And, you know, obviously that's business revenue for you, but still, I mean, you're taking home a lot of that. Like, did you feel like your mindset changes in those moments? Like, or do you feel like you're still the same person? You're still in the same mindset than you were when you weren't?
I'm still absolutely the same person. And I thought it'd be different. I
Yeah.
thought you'd start depositing 40, 50, 60K a month and you
Yeah.
just wake up and have a different look at yourself in the mirror differently or whatever it may be, but that's not the case.
Yeah. I think it depends, right? It's like money can only buy so much,
Sure.
right? It can buy back your time. Sure, it can buy back into your business. But at the end of the day, from what it sounds like, is you're just constantly seeing that as a tool to bring yourself more opportunities.
Absolutely.
And bring other people opportunities too. Like, how crazy has it been to like watch? I mean, I even know personally some of the people that you've brought in this business and you've completely changed their lives. Like, I mean, for me at least, being able to see that is something that's just completely changed my understanding. Like, for me, I thought, you know, I came from a background where, you know, I was in the emergency medical field, and I thought like saving people's lives was the best way that I could give back, right?
Yeah.
Like, but what I realized is I'm only changing their life one time.
Sure.
Like, sure, it's, you know, changing their life once, and then obviously they live with their family, have multiple families, things like that. Like, that can change, but it's only one time. Where this industry, like, you're literally giving people skills, knowledge, just honestly just teaching them how to live,
Yeah.
right? Some of these people,
How to be adults sometimes.
yeah, how to be an adult, right? And you know, it's almost like being a dad, right?
Yeah.
Being a dad without having real kids. And
You're a therapist sometimes.
exactly,
It's part of it.
I mean, tell us about that, dude. Like, what has that been like for you, and what are some of the struggles that you've kind of had to have, or maybe some of the hard talks that
Overall, it's been
You've had to
incredible.
have.
I was in a sales industry before where most people I tried to bring in failed, and that feels terrible as a leader. Solar is a hard industry. Really, the top percent make it, and everyone else fails. And it doesn't feel good doing well in an opportunity and it changing your life and bringing someone in and them falling on their face and being in a worse position when they leave. So that was so special to me about this industry, where it's simply just a script that you can read. And you could sit next to your agent and mute the phone and tell them what to say.
Yeah.
And just completely jump in if you need to, take control of the sales process and help them close that sale and help them make money. Where this is opportunity to completely change my life and a lot of my close friends' lives to be able to, like, most of my team is a lot of my best friends, a lot of people who I've known since middle school, known
That's
since
crazy.
high school, met in college, traveled the world with, had all these experiences with, who obviously didn't get certain opportunities after college that they were hoping for,
Yeah.
ended up in sales because of how lucrative it is and
Right.
obviously how much it can change you as a person. But over time, it's definitely truly special just watching it change other people's lives and how simple it is, because I've seen a lot of people that have come in with no sort of sales experience,
Right.
no sort of confidence, just not really carrying themselves in a certain way at all. And that same person a year and a half later being a completely different person, and obviously having a lot more finances to be able to have the time, location, any sort of freedom that really people are shooting for.
So realistically, it sounds like most people, as long as they're willing to work hard and to pretty much put their full head into something, they could probably accomplish it. Right?
Absolutely. As long as you're coachable and obviously are continuing to learn and get better.
And like, what are some of those hard moments that you've faced in the business so far? Like, maybe some mistakes you've made, or
Sure.
things that you kind of regret, or things that you've had to go through that you really didn't expect.
There's certain people I gave chances that I probably shouldn't have. You learn really quality over quantity at certain points. It's a lot of hard conversations you have to have owning a business and obviously being the leader. It's a lot of best friends I've had where you have to have certain conversations you've never had that obviously just make everyone uncomfortable and can create some sort of resentment for a week or a month or whatever it may be.
Right.
But in business, it's important to recognize that those talks are honestly like mandatory. Like you can't just avoid those conversations, and sometimes they have to be had, and sometimes friendships have to be put to the side when realistically we're both in the business together.
That's something to be said, dude, honestly, about like really just understanding, because, you know, a lot of it from what I've learned is, you know, taking your emotions out of business.
Yeah.
Like, for me personally, dude, I'm a pretty emotional person. I care pretty deeply about a lot of people.
Same.
And, you know, for me, wanting it so bad for somebody right? And wanting them to succeed so badly. But the reality is you can't want it more than them.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel like I genuinely had to learn, was just when to just say enough was enough, right? And when to like kind of either let that person go, but also is, when would you say in a business structure, right? Because like a lot of people, entrepreneurs, they are at some sort of point where maybe they have a business partner, maybe they have somebody who's in, some sort of industry that they're working with, and they're feeling like they're having to hold their hand, right? When do you feel like it's like a good time to let go and kind of let them, I guess, be some, self-sufficient in that regard?
I'm a big advocate for doing things independently if you feel like anyone's holding you back. If you're working with someone who isn't benefiting you as much as you're benefiting them, or they're not where you want to be, and they're not providing any sort of extra value to help get you to where you want to be or get the both of you to where you guys want to get together, probably not a good, beneficial business relationship to have.
Yeah. And like, when would you say it? Because like, I know that you've had some people that you've either disagreed with in your business, or maybe people who were cancerous, right? Like that you knew. What are some of the lessons you learned with that? Because I think that's something that I'm still trying to really learn and get down is, when do I let somebody go in my business? When is that point where I know that I'm actually going to make more money having that person out of my business than in my business?
And truthfully, Jake, that's something I'm still trying to figure out myself too.
Yeah.
I'm someone who hasn't been able to let a lot of people go because I do truly care about them so much. And obviously we had a shared vision. I want to do everything I can in my power to help get them to that certain point. I've seen a lot of people who've given up on themselves, who I didn't give up on, who have ended up coming in and being really successful at this. And a big part of it, they've told me, is simply just having someone in their corner that truly believed in them, even when they didn't believe in themselves, which is important. But obviously it's just something that if they're bringing negativity and holding down other people around you, you have to notice that kind of thing early. And you tend to notice the cancers within the first month or two, just the complainers.
Yeah.
It's really something I've had written on my whiteboard for 4 years is no complaining. No one wants to hear that shit. So I've always just made it a rule. I'm not going to complain to anyone. I'm not going to go up. I'm not going to go sideways, because if you go sideways, it's going to bring them down. They're going to be down. Certain little things are going to get in the back of their head, and you're planting seeds in their mind. And if you go up, your leader is just going to resent talking to you, and they're just going to always think they're going to answer your call and hear some complaints and hear some bullshitting, when a lot of your solutions can just be figured out by really just zooming out and focusing on what's in your control, and everything else that's not, stop letting it emotionally affect you.
100%. And I feel like that's the biggest thing, is when you can learn not only how to be self-sufficient, but also how to be what's called a problem solver. One of the things that I always tell people, something that an early mentor told me, was whenever you have a problem and you have a question about something, right? If you can come up with at least 3 solutions, right, before you come to me of what you think could be the solution, that's just automatically going to change the way you look at something.
Absolutely.
Right? Is because not only becoming a problem solver it's a skill. Like, it's something that me and you have had to learn.
For sure.
Because we're the ones who have to teach people how to do it, right? Is when me and you have a problem, we're not really going to anybody.
No one.
Right?
Figure that shit out.
It's when you own a business, you really got to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
But also what it trains us is how to teach people to become self-sufficient.
Facts.
And sometimes it's giving them the hard lesson of, hey, dude, I love you, man, but you got to figure this out on your own. And I feel like that teaches people way more of how to just be a better individual, not only in the workspace, but in life.
Yeah.
Because it translates,
And that's hard at first, because sometimes you want to hold their hand, especially in their first month or two.
Yeah.
It's just important to zoom out and recognize, like, wait, I've been holding your hand for 6 months. You've been here since like October. What are we doing here?
Right, exactly. And pretty much to wrap it up, dude, it's been awesome chatting with you. I just want to know, because a lot of people are probably sitting here wondering, like, dude, I'm also either 23, I'm also 20, 19, 18, whatever it is, watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, how the hell does a 23-year-old like yourself get to where you are now? Being able to lead a team of 30 plus people in your business, being able to see the kind of finances that you're seeing and see the amount of lives that you're changing. Like, if you had to give them a summary, is like, not only is your mindset, but how do you do that? Like, what is the blueprint to it?
It's important to understand that kind of thing's going to take a long time. If you're new to sales, this is your first business, you can't come in and expect to make $500,000 your first year. Sometimes not even your second for some of those people. It's important to recognize that, obviously they say it all the time in the entrepreneurial space, like you learn and then you earn. And I learned a lot my first 2.5 years in sales. And there were some months where I earned a lot and there were some months where I didn't earn a lot at all. Obviously it's 3-4 years in, 5-6 years in some cases is when really you start to get paid for the fruits of your labor. But it's important that until you are, to really just truly put your head down, and in that time that you're not earning, to really just recognize how much you're growing as a person, as an individual, how much you're learning. And obviously, like you said, just becoming a problem solver and being able to become self-sufficient and not have to have your hand held in every situation is really, really important to become a top-level entrepreneur.
That's awesome, man. And I think what really is true testament is like you didn't start being a business owner last year, right? You've honestly been doing it and learning those skills pretty much since you were a teenager, right? And for people who come from either like working in a factory or working some day job 9 to 5, is if you didn't start that long time ago, is like you still have a while to go.
Absolutely.
Right? And is what would you say too is like what was your mindset when you came in? Like, I know it's like obviously you were selling us, hey, you want to make sure that you understand that it's going to take time, right? It's going to take time to learn the skills and knowledge, but like, what about the journey and the process? Like, I feel like you are somebody that has a great mindset, and you teach everyone in your business to have one of the best mindset. And that's something I've learned from you, honestly, man, is like having an understanding of just being positive no matter what, and trusting in the process. Like, what would you tell somebody in regards to that?
One thing that's really, really important is just to zoom out and really just focus on what you can control. And one thing that's not talked about enough in the entrepreneurial space is simply just enjoying the process and living in the moment and not dreading the little things that when you zoom out is such a small little problem. Because one thing you find for a lot of people in their mid-20s, 30s who make tens of millions of dollars, they're unhappy. A year or two goes by, they're unfulfilled, they're suicidal, they've traveled the world, they bought every supercar, every watch, anything they could ever want. They've given their family anything they could ever want. At that point, you don't want to rush to that point. And I think that's something that I've started to accept a lot more within the last year, because we're in an industry where 3-5 years, we're probably going to be worth tens of millions of dollars. And we're going to be able to have all those things and travel the world.
Right.
But that's not what we need to look forward to, where it's really important to really just make the most out of our day-to-day now and obviously enjoy all the fruits that come with it.
That's amazing, man. Well, dude, I think that was a perfect way to end this, and it was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on,
being
man.
able to work with you and see the crazy business that you are about to build, man, and I'm super excited for your future.
Appreciate that, man.
All right, brother. Well, we'll see you guys. Take it easy. Stay blessed.